Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. Governor Gavin Newsom's proposal to freeze access to California's Medi-Cal program from immigrants without legal status has advocates worried. It's a move aimed at lowering the budget deficit, but KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says advocates are warning it could end up costing more in the long run.
About 1.4 million adults have signed up for Medi-Cal under the expansion. Now, Governor Newsom's new budget proposal could freeze access for immigrants without legal status. Myra Alvarez with the Children's Partnership says cutting access to preventative care will backfire.
When people don't have health coverage, they're waiting until it is in a more dire situation. They are then using the emergency room for their care. And what does that do? That raises the cost for all of us.
California expanded Medi-Cal to undocumented adults in January 2024. A California Healthcare Foundation study found 88% of those enrolled used primary, preventative, and dental care. Laura Lucia runs the UC Berkeley Labor Center.
When people have Medicaid coverage, they're more likely to use primary and preventive care and less likely to use emergency room services.
The proposal also cuts dental and long-term care for existing enrollees and charges $100 monthly premiums starting in 2027.
$100 a month for families really is telling them that they might be taking away resources from putting food on the table or making their rent more affordable.
Lucia says federal law prohibits charging the poorest Medicaid patients, and Newsom's fee would be unaffordable for most.
We're talking about immigrants who earn $1,800 or less per month. That's the upper income limit for Medi-Cal eligibility for single adults.
San Diego has no public hospitals, so community clinics like La Maestra are often the only option for low-income patients. Corinne Hansen says they saw a major influx in patients last year. Around the same time, coverage was extended to the immigrant population.
I want to say it was over 1,000 new patients.
With cuts looming and potentially fewer patients covered, she says they'll have to make tough choices.
We would not want to close any clinics or stop providing services, but we would have to focus, on our core services.
Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Residents and healthcare professionals in Imperial County are bracing as House Republicans push billions of dollars in cuts to Medicaid. iNews Source investigative reporter Philip Salata explains.
Medicaid sends money to states to provide health insurance to vulnerable people. More than half of Imperial County residents rely on the program. This week, Republicans in the House of Representatives are calling for billions of dollars in cuts to the program to offset nearly $5 trillion in tax cuts pushed by the Trump administration.
We obviously are following this very closely because it would have a devastating impact on Imperial Valley.
Hospitals in rural areas depend heavily on Medicaid to fund their operations. The program helps pay for many critical services that are expensive to run.
We're already underserved as it is in regards to specialties and children's clinics that we might need, and adult clinics like ortho and GI and neurology and so forth. And if those cuts happen, how much more impact will that make to the Imperial Valley?
For some low-income community members, the cuts could increase pressure on the patchwork support systems they depend on to make ends meet.
We're not even living our life how we should be because we're so worried about our basic needs.
House Republicans are also proposing to add work requirements and a measure that would curb the state's ability to tax providers. That's a key tool states use to fund the program. Democratic leaders are pushing back.
It's irresponsible and distressing for an administration that seems to have captured a lot of support in the last election from some working people to turn around and to harm the most vulnerable in our working people in our state.
On Wednesday, a House panel approved $880 billion in cuts over 9 years, mostly coming from Medicaid. Next, the House Budget Committee will take it up. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Philip Salata.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner for KPBS. This story is part of our Public Matters partnership. To find out more, go to kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight here, we'll see some clouds, temperatures down to the 60s. Get ready for a cooler, cloudier, windier weekend, and even tracking some precipitation. It's all coming up tonight.
A San Diego-based submarine is back home after 7 months at sea. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer was at Naval Base Point Loma for the homecoming.
Like any ship homecoming, there were celebrations and happy reunions for the crew of the USS Alexandria. But submarines aren't just any ships. They call it the silent service. Submarines operate out of sight and their missions are closely guarded military secrets. The ship's captain did what he could to shine a light on what they do.
And what we are doing out there day in and day out is making sure that the sea lanes remain open, that U.S. goods, that our allies' goods are able to move through the Western Pacific, and just providing a presence that some people know where we're at and some people don't, but that presence matters day in, day out.
Commander Christopher Rose is the captain of the Alexandria. They left San Diego for their Western Pacific deployment in September. He says life for the 140 sailors on board is a lot different than those on surface ships.
Well, I think what people don't realize about the submarine force is when we go out, we are completely isolated. We go months without emails to families.
Alexandria is one of 4 Los Angeles-class attack submarines based in San Diego. The nuclear-powered subs are among the oldest in the fleet. They're slowly being replaced by the newer, more versatile Virginia class. Rose says this class of submarine still has an important job to do.
They're still the backbone of our submarine force, and they are still out there, like Alexandria was, executing missions that matter every single day. And there's really nobody that matches us.
Captain Will Wiley is the commander of Submarine Squadron 11 at Naval Base Point Loma. He says they kept the sub busy.
We just had a lot for the USS Alexandria to do, so we kept them underway, out there, maintaining the presence in the Western Pacific.
After spending 7 months away, most of it underwater, the crew had reintegration training before getting home. Rose says they miss a lot and are pretty insulated from the world when they're gone, but he already had plans for the day he returned.
I have a baseball game for my 10-year-old at 5 o'clock tonight, and so I think that's the first thing I'm doing is going to watch a Little League baseball game.
Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
San Diegans honored the legacy of the late LGBTQ+ civil rights icon Harvey Milk today. The 17th annual Harvey Milk Breakfast was held at the Town and Country Resort this morning. Milk was stationed in San Diego while serving in the Navy in the 1950s. He went on to become California's first openly gay elected official in the 70s. Activists told our media partner KGTV it's important to remember civil rights figures like Milk, especially now.
No civil rights movement in this country has achieved equality in their civil rights without the support of other communities, with a coalition. And now more than ever, as I said, we need to reach out to each other.
The ceremony also honored Oregon Governor Tita Kotek, one of the first openly lesbian women to become a governor in the United States. Also honored a 16-year-old boy who was sent to a concentration camp during the Holocaust because of his sexuality. Tonight, KPBS is remembering a longtime contributor to our business coverage.
Well, this unprecedented merger between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, this program really would have impacted over 45 million people. That's a lot of voters. So it's a good, entry point for the Fed meetings later in September.
His voice was a regular presence on KPBS television and radio over the years. Miro Kopik passed away this week at age 62, less than a year after being diagnosed with cancer. We spoke today with Miro's sister, Danila Kopik de Granta.
To every single job, he brought this boundless creative energy that was infectious and that just turned everybody on and got everybody excited about what they were doing. As you know, he's a professor at SDSU. He's passionate about teaching branding, teaching his students and really getting in there and mentoring them. We've gotten notes from many students that were, oh my God, he was my favorite professor, and he really took the time to coach me and teach me.
In addition to teaching Aztecs at the SDSU Fowler College of Business, Miro held degrees from USC and Harvard. That education and experience led him to form his own company, Bottom Line Marketing, which he co-founded here in San Diego.
Logos and names are very emotional, and they're hard, and that's the hardest thing in marketing.
Miro's regular appearances included a recurring segment, the Friday Business Report. He also offered a trusted source for our reporters over the years.
To his role with you guys at KPBS, where, for over 20 years, we would be sitting at Thanksgiving dinner as a family, and he's like, I have to go to the station and do the Black Friday report. And he was really excited about it. It's something that was in his blood, and he loved it. He loved talking about it, doing it, teaching it, sharing it, and really generous with his time and talent.
Miro Kopik was a father who loved to travel, and he would often see his favorite team, the Chicago Cubs, when they played in San Diego.
Cyber Monday's your day.
All right, Miro Kopik, thanks so much for the update.
Miro Kopik, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking time away from your holiday weekend to be with us.
Thanks, Ebony. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We've got to close it there. Miro Kopik of SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing, thank you so much for joining us. Miro Kopik from SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing.
Thanks, Maya.
A celebration of life is in the works.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the prospects for peace after talks between Russia and Ukraine end with little progress. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Right now, ground and air crews are working to put out a brush fire just east of the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. The Academy fire started around 2:30 this afternoon near San Pasqual Valley Road. CAL FIRE says it's burned nearly 50 acres. Cause is under investigation. One way to help douse flames is with fire suppressant. Among the most commonly used is a bright red substance known as Phos-Chek, usually dropped from planes. But what's in it, and is it safe? Maribel Gonzalez reports from Los Angeles.
Here in California, the January wildfires burned more than 16,000 structures. Officials say fire suppressant was a critical tool to help them combat these massive blazes, especially in hard-to-access areas like hills and canyons. In January, Southern California neighborhoods lit up with bright orange flames, turned pink and red.
There's a fire bomber just dropped retardant right there.
Phos-Chek covered a lot from homes to hillsides.
It was more usage than we've ever seen in a January.
Its distinctive color a strategic choice, says Jeff Emery, president of Global Fire Safety at Perimeter Solutions, the company that manufactures the product.
The reason that the color is so critical for a pilot is all about visibility.
But those in places devastated by wildfires are left wondering, is it safe? According to a 2024 University of California study, at least one product used to suppress fires in the past was not. A type of Phos-Chek called LC95W contained enough heavy metals that it could be classified as hazardous waste under federal and California regulations. But good news.
The Forest Service phased out Phos-Chek LC95 nationwide as of the end of last year.
The U.S. Forest Service says its teams only used a different perimeter product, one known as Phos-Chek MVP FX, in California's recent wildfires. And the product's manufacturer says it is primarily composed of water ammonium phosphate, a thickening agent, and coloring.
Ammonium phosphate, for those that don't know, is also what's the primary ingredient in many fertilizers.
Research is still ongoing, but McCurry says preliminary findings are encouraging.
This product is supposed to be cleaner, and that seems to be the case from what we can tell.
Perimeter, that's the makers of Phos-Chek MVP FX, say they're working to ensure it as safe as possible and feel, quote, very good about its safety. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the former fire suppressant known as LC95 was never used or loaded at air tanker bases in California. The Forest Service says their standards are constantly evolving to improve environmental and human safety. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
The first instances of West Nile virus in the county this year have been detected in Lemon Grove. 2 dead crows tested positive for the virus. Now, county health officials are reminding everyone to protect themselves. Remember to dump out standing water around homes to prevent mosquitoes from breeding. Make sure screens and windows are in good condition to keep insects out. Wear long sleeves or pants and report possible mosquito activity and dead birds to Vector Control. The number there is on your screen, 858-694-2888. Nearly 100 San Diegans have become sick from food poisoning. KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge says a salmonella outbreak has been linked to a popular restaurant in Claremont.
A lot of people got sick after eating at Aladdin's Mediterranean Cafe late last month. And yesterday, some of them gathered to announce they were suing. Our news partner, KGTV, was there.
I had went into the emergency room, and they admitted me right away because of how dangerous my blood pressure was, and I felt like I was dying.
The San Diego County Health Department says there are 98 people with confirmed or probable cases of salmonella poisoning after they ate at Aladdin's. Despite this, the restaurant has reopened after a brief closure. A county spokesperson said Aladdin's replaced all its stored food, deep cleaned its restaurant, and its employees were questioned.
Salmonella sickens about 1.4 million Americans every year. It is now primarily caused by consumption of chicken products, either eggs or undercooked chicken, poultry.
Bill Marler is a prominent food safety lawyer based in the Seattle area. He says finding out what really happened here will be tricky.
Sometimes outbreaks in restaurant settings are really hard to figure out because people have eaten the evidence.
Salmonella is carried in fecal matter, mostly chicken feces. And Marler says there are lots of ways chicken can get you. It might be the chicken itself that made people sick, or maybe it was mishandled and the salmonella got transmitted to other foods or ingredients.
Was it the parsley? Oh, was it, the carrots? Was it the undercooked chicken?
Marler isn't working on the Aladdin case, and he's not involved in the investigation. But based on thousands of other cases he has litigated and the number of people who got salmonella poisoning, he says,
I would think that it's likely not undercooking, that it's likely an ingredient that was contaminated, in a sense, before it got to the restaurant.
That wouldn't mean the restaurant is not liable, but they may share liability with a supplier. Lawsuits like this can bankrupt a restaurant if it's not adequately insured. Aladdin's Mediterranean Cafe wrote a letter to its customers, thanking them for their patience and saying their health and safety is Aladdin's first priority. The county health department says their investigation is ongoing. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
San Diego State University kicked off its commencement ceremonies today. SDSU is holding 9 ceremonies from Friday through Sunday at the Viejas Arena, with more than 12,000 students graduating. KPBS spoke to students from the College of Arts and Letters about how they were feeling and advice they'd give their freshman year selves.
Feels great. It feels like it's been a long journey, but also just the beginning of a new one, and I'm excited to see what's to come.
The future is so broad, and not everyone sticks with their major. Not everyone goes to the traditional route of graduating within 4 years, but, do whatever makes you happy. Do what will make, you and other people proud and make a difference.
The most popular degree for SDSU's class of 2025 was psychology, followed by criminal justice and finance. The university held a commencement ceremony at Imperial Valley campus yesterday and another in Tijuana earlier this month. CSU San Marcos is also holding commencement ceremonies today and tomorrow. UC San Diego's campus-wide commencement is on June 14th.
Hopefully you've enjoyed some of the nicer weather we've had recently, because we are tracking some changes, and unfortunately those do come for the weekend. How about the adjectives? Cooler, cloudier, windier. That's what we'll be tracking through Saturday and Sunday, with even some precipitation chances along and west of the mountains. Next week is looking warmer, but we'll see a shallow marine layer returning. We take a look at tonight. Oceanside down to 54 degrees, into San Diego 60, and Chula Vista 59 degrees. Borrego Springs down to 62, and Mount Laguna will be at 48 degrees through tonight. Into the day Saturday as we track this next storm diving further south here, and that will start to bring the precipitation a little bit further south, plus windy, dry conditions. So also watching the fire danger returning across parts of the Four Corners. Look at this. Every icon here throughout our area into San Diego County is dealing with the precipitation. Oceanside 67, San Diego 66, Chula Vista 65. Still, despite the clouds and the precipitation in Borrego Springs, 83, and Mount Laguna at 52 degrees. Not a whole lot when it comes to future precipitation. You can see very, very light areas of the green here when it comes to future rainfall, but we'll certainly keep it kind of murky around at least Saturday. By Sunday, looks a little more pleasant as our storm moves across Colorado. That's where the precipitation will be here through the weekend. So we'll take you out the next 5 days here after showers along the coast on Saturday. We're back to mostly cloudy skies, but drier on Sunday and nicer and much warmer as we head into the middle of next week. So this weekend stays cloudy with showers further inland on Saturday, 70 and drier on Sunday. And then look at that, we're nearly 90 degrees as we head into Wednesday. The mountains will follow a similar forecast here with cooler, cloudier, showery weather this weekend, and then we'll start to warm up. 80s by next week, and we'll see that triple-digit heat back across the deserts as we head into next week. For KPBS News, I'm Mariella Scalise.
Last night, San Diego International Fringe Festival kicked off what it calls 11 days of eyeball-bursting shows. This year, there are 45 shows across 8 venues. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando previews the festival.
San Diego International Fringe Festival is an unjuried, uncurated, and uncensored showcase of live theater.
And that's what attracts me so much to this Fringe Festival. It's 100% uncensored, which is exactly the way that I like it.
Of course, Mae West feels right at home.
I got arrested in 1927. I went to Roosevelt Island for 8 days for my play Sex.
Performer Wendy Wanaz brings the legendary Hollywood sex symbol to life. In her world premiere Fringe show, Mae West cleans up her act.
What's wrong, world? You weren't ready for a bold, 85-year-old horny woman with a voracious sexual appetite? Your loss.
Fringegoers can also catch silent clown Charlie Chaplin in a show called Smile, where Marcel Cole displays his enchanting physical comedy. More verbal humor comes from Australian performer Matt Harvey in Wage Against the Machine.
So these stories are all stories about my old dodgy jobs, this thing called robo-debt, which I got a $20,000 unlawful debt from the Australian government.
Although Harvey is from down under, the humor is universal.
Interesting to have this, what I call a intercontinental trauma bond over poor government choices.
Look at Monopoly. The most capitalist game on the planet has a universal basic income. Those guys don't have jobs, they just wander the streets. Every so often someone walks up to them and be like, "You're still alive! $200! Go and have fun!" To get all Mary Poppins about it, the jokes is the sugar, the spoonful of sugar, and the story is usually the medicine.
This year, Fringe is especially rich with the healing medicine of personal storytelling. Whether it's from a stoop of a Philly neighborhood,
because there's a lot of changes going on in my life, and I'm just like desperately holding on to like a shred of who I believe myself to be.
or on stage with a Japanese comedian performing for U.S. troops.
But they look to be on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So I said to them, today is the only day I can let the bomb.
In Do Better, Magic provides the sugar in a story about grief, says Izzy Salant.
Do Better is a one-person comedic drama with magic, or as I'm calling it, a dramagedy, that explores how we navigate life after unwavering grief. Sometimes the only thing you can do is laugh at the pain and do a card trick, and that's what we're doing.
Fringe also offers the poetry of Bodies in Motion, The Bard Reimagined,
Why dost thou tweet when surely thou couldst call to tell me I reside now in thy past? Thou bastard too hath posted on my wall, mine enemies click like while I'm aghast.
and backstage melodrama.
David, Catherine, we're at Places.
Thank you, Places.
I'm Sarah LeClaire, and I'm representing Riot Productions. Our show is Death and Murder and Poison and Scene. We sort of asked the question about this wacky murder mystery, A Perfect Crime, which is the longest-running show off-Broadway that still has a 1-star Yelp review. How has it been there for 30 years with the original cast? Because they killed a bunch of people, obviously, and buried their bodies in the walls.
Emily is going a little off the rails.
She's method. It's her process.
Right. The thing is that she kind of implied that she hasn't slept or isn't sleeping or is completely altered from her total lack of sleep, and she's getting a little manic. And the thing is that later on she kind of murders someone on stage, and I'm worried that she'll get murdery in a sense that she actually kills someone on stage.
It's a silly murder mystery where the cast is trying to keep everything from going off the rails while trying not to murder each other, sometimes successfully, sometimes not.
If you want to know the final body count, you'll have to see the show. This is just a sample of the 45 shows playing at 8 different venues, including 2 at the newly christened 49th and Logan Cultural Complex in Lincoln Park. I hope you'll accept this invitation to binge on Fringe with me. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Accepted. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have an excellent evening and a wonderful weekend.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.